Hey fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. Here's the update to the RF rackets, focusing on the RF Pro this time around. The new Federer racket, Federer and Wilson claims that he would have used this racket instead of the regular Pro Staff to get a bit more angle and a bit more opportunity to kind of create spin and have a little bit of an easier racket to use at 320 grams on strong instead of the Autograph, which is 340 grams. And I must say, playing them side by side with the exact same string setup and tension, that's RS New York, great multi-filament at 53 pounds, 24 kilos, and Olu Power in the crosses at 51 pounds, 125 gauge Olu and 130 gauge RS. It really works well with this racket. I've tried it with multiple different string setups. It's a hate and love affair. Basically, like most people say that they either love it or they don't really like it at all. It's a demanding racket. I've tried it alongside the RF97 Autograph together with Sean in this video as well.
And then comparison to the Pro, I feel like the Pro, you kind of need to have a very clean strike on the ball. For me, not too forgiving if you don't hit off the center. With both rackets, we set up the RS New York 130, and on the crosses we have the Olu Power 125, strung around 24, 23 I believe. But yeah, I still do like the heavier ones, but I mean, you got to play. You got to be.
Yeah, I think this
rackets, for sure.
Either one you choose, like this one is like 20 grams heavier, and you feel it like when you're closing the racket face.
For sure.
And you saw that with you as well, like that. It's tough to get that last little bit of whip on the ball because it's so heavy. So if it's marketing or if it's actually Roger talking, the way that he described the RF Pro is that he would give him a bit more angle opportunity to really go in the corner and maybe a little bit better defense, I would say, because the other one is so tough to defend. Exactly. Ball's gonna go a lot.
Exactly.
So this one feels actually a bit easier to use.
I think I can get used to this,
yeah.
But I think straight off the cuff, I'm going with the 300s for sure.
Also, pocketing, low reflex. This one has a crisp stiffness. It's not going to be the most arm friendly. Strung with a full bit of poly at a high tension is going to hurt you probably. But like this, it felt okay. Sure. Launch angle, really, you really clipped it like a lot, like close to the net, because the launch angle is already low, and with the RS in the main, it's going to get even lower. This one felt a bit too heavy, so I do understand this one a bit more when you try them side by side. This one still feels maybe a bit better, I would say.
I would say if I was to hit and we had a full dive just hitting with a racket, I can adjust. You can adjust to these rackets. Again, if you can adjust, but off the cuff, I pick it up, I can play. Done. You have to get used to that a little bit, start hitting a bit cleaner, maybe chipping it a little bit more, whereas with this, I felt I could just guide the ball. Drop shot, slice, coming into the net, it just felt a lot more controlled, a lot more, for me anyway. Just felt like I could feel the ball on the string.
Started, like when you're playing competitions, you play with the Hyper Pro Staff 6.1,
Exactly,
right?
So my junior racket was the Hyper Pro Staff 6.1.
A heavy beast and stiff.
2002.
Yeah.
So it was a heavy racket. At the time, to be honest, I didn't even think about the weights. I mean, I think that strung up at 360 maybe, 350 maybe, around that. But at the time as a junior, I feel like that was just the racket that I preferred. I was actually, if I remember rightly, in between Leighton Hewitt, Yonex, RDIS.
I
remember
think.
something like that. So
yeah, they have the weird
names.
names.
Yeah, I was in between those two. Good testing today, very good, very impressed, very happy with the 300.
You played really well with that one. So, like I said in my first review with Henrik, this racket is gonna be the choice for most players who want to get an RF racket, because this is just in the between. You can customize or you can play it as it is. You can go preferably lower in tension with this one because it's very dense string bed, so the lower tension will help, the pocketing will help you get a bit more lift on the ball.
For sure.
If you're gonna play with this, you gotta be a player of some kind. You really have to have good strokes, I think. And you're not gonna be one of those that switches rackets all the time, because like you said, this will require an adjustment. This one you can switch to a Radical or to a Blade and it's fine.
I was playing with a Yonex. I'm switching between the two and they feel almost not identical, but I can, switch, whereas going to the heavier side, you definitely need a good hour just to feel the ball and everything. But
get the timing in.
Yeah, it will be clean. Of course, it's a Federer racket.
Yeah.
Once you get it, it will be nice. But,
you feel like you need to play a bit Roger style. Like any other style, it feels like it doesn't work.
For sure, for
it's
sure.
like you have to take the ball in front early, right?
Coming in, kind of just guiding and through the ball and stuff. But
yeah, guys, I'm playing with the RF Pro. Nice racket, fun racket, tough racket. Like it's made for Roger and for a good reason,
I mean, you have to be a pro.
Yeah, yeah. This is a pro for a pro racket for a pro, literally a pro, right?
I can tell you it's very good. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's going.
320 grams. My goodness.
Yeah, my
So
goodness.
it's 15 more grams than I'm used to, and I think 2 more kilos as well.
Yep.
Difficult. It's a challenge for me.
It's a challenge for sure.
Wow, very easy power. My God,
Wow.
for the serve I would say is better than the other one.
Yeah, I can see that.
On the second maybe I have more trouble to move my wrist.
But yeah, because you have to whip the racket, it's tough.
Don't need a damper with this one. I mean, okay, it has multi-filaments, so that helps, I guess.
Oh no.
Oh! Yes! Oh. Nice one. Serving to the forehand and taking my forehand. Oh. Yes, I got it. Thank you. You see, this is where I struggle when I have to move to manipulate 15 more grams that I'm used to on the run, no? I'm coming in.
Ah, good. Very good volley.
Solid, very solid. Ah! And this is where I struggle with my age. Again, bit late.
Yeah, you see, it's so much tougher to maneuver for the wrist. You can't use the wrist in those shots as much as with the other one, no?
I think I was a bit late as well with my legs.
Yeah, yeah. But you should be able to have some help from the racket.
Yeah, I think I could have saved it with less grams, I mean.
Yeah, you really like the lighter one?
The lighter one, and with this one I will play.
You need
If
to
I
get...
was a pro, I would play with this one.
Yes.
It's more solid.
Yeah, so like comparing them, you have the weight benefits you on serve, volleys of course, but if you're a bit late on the shot, it's not gonna help so much. You know.
No.
For most players, this one is like you don't need that one, right? Like.
But that's the story, you know, with how many grams you should play. You should play with the maximum grams you can manipulate when you are defending. But I mean, to any pro,
Yeah.
I think this racket would fit very easily.
I play with I think aggressive players. Like I play with a college guy, very aggressive player, good player, and he loved it. He really loved it. Like he felt like he could just take the ball early, he could dominate the point.
And it has power. It has power.
Well, the other guy liked the lighter version,
flexibility.
you know, because he felt like he's a defensive clay court player. And he felt like he could manipulate more, be a bit more better on defense with this one. While the attacking player liked the heavy one, where he can get the power on to use work for him, you know, a bit more.
Yeah, so 20 years before this one.
Yeah.
And now, present moment, this is the one.
Yeah. The RF97 Autograph is tougher to use, so I can understand why Roger wanted to play with this one. Maybe this one doesn't feel quite as nice because this has a bit more metallic sensation. Maybe tougher on the arm potentially, you don't feel the foam. The foam is there, but you don't feel it quite as much. But it is a little bit easier to use. It is still quite heavy, but you have more whippiness with this racket. Playing them side by side with the same string setup really tells me that there is a point that Federer wanted something a bit easier, especially on defense when you're running and you have to make a bit more on the ball. That racket is tough to use, and if you don't hit it perfectly, it's going to be demanding. But this is also another racket that is tough to use, so it doesn't make it much easier, it just makes it a bit easier, a bit more aerodynamic, and still a great frame. But something you should check out if you're a huge Roger fan, if you really feel like you have the game for it. You need to have great footwork, good mechanics. I find it a bit too difficult. Launch angle is super through the court. You can get some good serve power if you have good mechanics. Great and stable at the net, really, like you can put your volleys anywhere. Great feeling, especially with this string setup. laser-like ground strokes if you hit the ball in the middle of the string bed. If you hit outside the string bed, you're punished immediately. This racket does not have a huge sweet spot, and you need to actually be a very good player to use it. And it's not a racket you can switch in between rackets. You have to groove with this one, stay with this one, make this your choice. And either you love it or hate it, kind of, pretty much, because it's such a strong personality in a tennis racket, such as Roger, right? So he has a very specific game style, taking the ball early, coming in, killing the point at the net. And that's the game you have to play with this racket. It kind of talks to you while you're playing and saying, hey, you have to play like this. Don't try anything else. And that it does really well. You're not going to be able to go like full on Nadal or play with a lot of topspin and using a lot of overhead movement and rapid swing speeds. It's a bit too heavy for that, and the sweet spot is small. So you take it in front, you play Roger style, then the racket really performs. It's definitely an evolution of the RF97 Autograph. I know some of you think it's just marketing BS. That could technically be it, but I see the evolution in this racket personally, so I think it does make a lot of sense that he would have played with this one if he was still around. So bit easier to use, bit more easy to get the racket moving after the contact point, so you can really close it a bit easier, while the other racket feels like it has a bit of a life of its own, and the ball will tend to go even flatter with the heavy RF97 Autograph. So good evolution, I like it, but it's a very specific racket for a specific demographic. It's also firmer than the 300-gram version, so I think it will give you a little bit more strain on the arm, especially strung with a full bed of poly. I would definitely recommend GUT poly hybrid or this kind of quality multi poly hybrid. I think this creates a much better feel. I also think it responds well as a medium to low string tension. Don't go too high, but don't go too low either, because then the racket is too heavy and the ball might fly. So solid stick. It's not like a home run in any way. I feel like it's an evolution of an already pretty demanding racket. But when you look at the review of the RF300, that will give you a better idea of playing like Roger, but with more forgiveness. If you're Roger or like Roger in style, technique, skill, check it out, the RF Pro. Otherwise, maybe the RF300, the RF01 is a better choice for you. That's it. Have a nice day, and don't forget to play some tennis.